Hello, company, and welcome to Show People, the podcast that shines a spotlight on the UK performing arts industry and those dedicated to their craft, covering the latest news and issues, what to see and do, showcasing theatrical talent, and of course, always trying to inform, educate, and entertain. My name is Andrew Keates, I'm a director and your host. Now, today's guest is one of the first people I ever wanted to have on this show. In the West End, he originated the roles of Trekkie and Nicky in Avenue Q, Lonny in Rock of Ages, and Barlow in I Can't Sing. He also played Rat in Wind in the Willows at the Palladium, and he was the proprietor at the Menier Chocolate Factory. Please welcome the one, the only, Mr. Simon Lipkin! Welcome to the show, sir.
Hello.
Simon is sat opposite me, and coming up on today's show, I will be getting my theatrical tips out. On the platform, we have a song from Ed Court's new musical version of Notre Dame. And of course, I'll be interviewing Simon Lipkin all about his life, career, and setting him some infamous Show People podcast challenges too. You are listening to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keates and bloody Simon Lipkin. Welcome to the show, Simon.
Thanks very much. Where did you get that music from? It's good, that.
It is really good.
Yeah,
do you know what it is?
good.
It's a day of going through royalty-free music and going, that's my life in a theme tune.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. That sounds bouncy.
First things first, you are going back to Nativity.
Yeah. They say that you only do great shows twice in your life. And when do we start? We start in like a week. I think we start rehearsals. I think little kids currently are rehearsing at the moment for a week, but they've spared us the joys of having to sit around in a rehearsal room whilst they learn songs and dances and stuff. And then we turn up and we get going. Yeah, do you know what? I had such a brilliant time on it last year. And Debbie Isaac, who created the world that is Nativity, the films and the stage show, we met about 5 years ago workshopping the musical, and she's been brilliant, and she's been a real, you meet sometimes, I mean, you as a director, you meet sometimes people in life that just sort of get behind you and you just think, well, isn't that lovely? And
find your tribe.
Yeah, right. And she's done that for me, and it's been amazing. And because of her, I've done some pretty cool stuff. So, I'm really happy to be going back. Also, I was contractually obliged, so I didn't really have a choice. But no, I am. I'm super excited to go back.
Tell me how Nativity works.
So the big key to it is it's all improvised. It's all that's the way that Debbie works, who created it. She writes this very detailed story structure, and you kind of know what every scene is about. But it's you can say what you want, which I think is, for me, is like happy place.
Yeah.
Like to be able to just improvise, go off on one, say what I want, change it. And I think it's the most brilliant way to work. It petrifies a lot of actors.
Yeah.
And that's the way all the films are done as well. All the films were improvised. There's no script. There's nothing. Like there's a story structure and that's it. And if you come up with something in a scene that works and stays in, you have to change what happens, what's coming up. I remember when we were filming one time, I just went, no, I don't want to put any spoilers for the upcoming film, but I was like, I need to go in disguise, and came up with what I had to go in disguise as. And then all of a sudden the poor costume department was like, well, where are we going to get? We're filming that this afternoon. So that kind of stuff happens. So in terms of creating it, she very much is in charge. She creates it. She plays you like a cheap violin.
Yeah.
But in terms of what you say and what you can do, that's all up to you.
Just from the stage show point of view, I can hear stage managers all over the world screaming, going, how the fuck do we cue this show?
So you stick very clearly to, this will always be my out. This is what I will finish on, especially on stage, not in front of a camera, but on stage, you always know that when I'm hitting this bit, I'm done.
Right. Okay.
And the musical cues are still the same, but everything that kind of happens in between, it's up for grabs. It's anybody's guess. I think what makes it even more special is that you could come one night and see a show, and you'll come the next night and you'll still get all the songs that you love and all of the vibe that you love, but you just might hear a whole bunch of different jokes.
I think it sounds really, really exciting.
Yeah.
Has anything kind of gone too far with what you've come up with?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I kind of knew the answer to that.
Yeah, of course it has.
Give me some examples.
I can't do that. there was, oh, no. Well, okay, sure. Well, I'm pretty good at self-editing. So someone taught me a rule a long time ago with comedy, and it is valuable, and I don't always stick to it because I go too far. But someone said, if you're going to put in a new joke, if you're going to add a joke, you have to take one existing joke out. And it makes you really analyze whether it's worth putting in the new one.
Yeah.
And it's fine if you do both and it goes on a bit long, but then you go, right, I prefer that one, so that one's coming out. And so it's like a one in, one out system, which means that you really, the length doesn't get baggy, it doesn't go on too long because you can, outstay your welcome in comedy. But so that's what I do. But I mean, at one time, I first meet the teacher in the schoolyard and I'm going off on one, and he asked me a question. I remember he said, yeah, can I ask you a question? And I went, yeah, shoot. We're in a school, don't shoot. And that did not go down. And sometimes I put in some jokes for the adults, which, they go down well. They go down well.
But isn't that the key to family entertainment? It's like the great Robin Williams in Aladdin and all of the writers there.
Yeah.
That film would be nothing if there wasn't just little breadcrumbs for the adults.
For me, I miss like proper family entertainment. We don't really do it anymore because everything now has to be edgy or cool or really dark or like, and otherwise it's not funny. Like you hear a lot of people, they love like a Michael McIntyre or whatever, but a lot of people go, oh God, he's so mainstream.
Yeah.
But I defy you to find anyone that doesn't find his sets funny. And then you go back to like your Brian Connolly's and your Joe Pasquale. You give me a better person on stage that would make someone who is young and old roll around in the aisles. Because I've sat and watched very well-known, famous comedians, and they're not that funny live. Yeah. Whereas these people, they just know how to...
Funny bones
know how to work a crowd, can do adult stuff, kid stuff. Like, it's kind of just funny. It's just funny.
You are such a... And I will be effusive about this. You are such a craftsman when it comes to comedy, and you've always been superb at what you do. It's interesting, though, isn't it, how some actors will push away from comedy, and it can sometimes be seen as a lesser art form. Do you know what I mean?
In every platform of acting, show business, comedy. It's not. Is it a lesser art form, or is it just like that's because it's funny, so that's kind of fluffy and not as important? Yeah. Because comedy tends not to be important in its sense. We can dress things up and address certain matters via comedy, but you like, when's the last time that a comedy movie won Best Oscar? Or do you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't happen because it's there for entertainment. You're there to laugh. You're there to have a nice time. And I've said this to you before. I genuinely, I'm not saying it to fish, I genuinely don't think I'm a particularly brilliant actor. Like, I can hold my own and do that stuff. And if you put down, I went to an audition the other day and I had to do, it was not funny in the slightest. And I was pretty shit. Like, I was pretty shit because in terms of sitting there and getting to grips and the depth of a piece of dramatic text and stuff like that, my whatever technique you want to call it, my emotional recall, my whatever, I'm just not that good at it. I don't connect with that very well. I can do quite angry and quite, dark, but comedy and just knowing how to land a laugh, how to self-edit on stage, how to ride the wave of an audience, I can't say that I've ever particularly sat down and learnt it, but I feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
So I think, weirdly, it's a scary thing to do. I taught a workshop on comedy.
I saw at the other palace.
Right, yeah. Which was mortifying. And it was called a masterclass, which I just think is pretentious in its own right, because who can give a masterclass on anything?
I mean...
like maybe a certain few who are the greats, maybe, but... I can't teach a masterclass. I can teach an evening of opinion. Is what I can teach. That's what I can teach.
Do you know what? That is a better title,
right?
An evening of opinion
with Simon Lipkin. But yeah, so I taught this thing, and I was like, why? One, why would anyone want to come to this? Two, I'm not sure how to teach it. 3, people had to get up on stage and perform for me to critique. And I thought, no one's going to want to do that. Even I know comedians that you say, well, get up on stage and be funny in front of people in an environment where you're supposed to be funny. Everyone's going to run a mile because it's petrifying.
Do you think you're still a big kid at heart? Is that where this sense of play comes from?
I don't think it. I am assured of it. It's yeah. My flat is a mix of, I really like interior design. Things you didn't know about me. I really like interior design. So my flat is a mix of like, velvet sofas and things and throws and rugs and stuff. And then there's just a lot of cartoon artwork all over the place and toys and things and anything that's a bit weird that you walk in and go, what's that? That I like it.
Yeah.
I think all actors essentially are just Peter Pans. We're just, because I think when you're a kid and you're sat on that sofa or your bed and you think that it's a spaceship or a rocket ship or a castle or whatever you think it is.
Making dens.
Right. But you believe that for hours on end and you are in that world and you create that world. And we all do it as children. And it's just, actors are just people that didn't let go of that bit.
Or the other problem you find is when you get older actors and all you want to do is try and get them back to that place.
Right.
Stop acting and just start playing.
Yeah.
That big difference.
Play. And I think comedians are just, I would never call myself a comedian. I'm just an actor that does some funny stuff.
What were some of the blocks? Because obviously, reaching out to all these people who wanted to get a better insight into comedy, what were the typical blocks that you saw that you were able to unpick, or what kind of advice were you giving that you saw was helpful? Right.
So my go-to way to put it is that when everyone else goes left, you go right. Like that's so wanky. It's so incredibly wanky, but it's kind of true. You're plodding along through life, and at the moment where you, instead of going the way that everyone else thinks it will go, you just make the other choice.
Yeah,
and you go somewhere different. And I saw a lot of people get up on stage and do a lot of big faces and a lot of big gestures and a lot of winks and kind of smiles. And you kind of go, no one's going to connect with that, because essentially what we'd like to laugh at is a mirror image of society, the things that we're not allowed to laugh at.
Yeah.
Which makes for, I think it's a tricky time for comedy at the moment, and rightly so.
And a vital time for it. If ever we needed satire, it's now.
Right. So we desperately need it, yet we're in a world where we have to be so careful of what we're joking about, because at the moment, everybody should, and rightly so, fight for what they believe and what is right in society and all of those things. But it means that regardless of the subject matter, we could make jokes about everything, and now we really can't make jokes about everything, which makes it a very tricky kind of footing, because you're like, I still want to make people laugh, and I still should be able to hold that mirror up, and I still should be able to kind of go, look, guys, I respect this 100%, but come on, this is funny. You can do it. You just have to be so incredibly smart about it, which just makes it, there's just so much more room for error in it.
The thing, me as the lefty snowflake that I am.
Yes.
It's
ironic because you are currently dressed as a snowflake.
Yes, I really am.
Yeah.
I genuinely am. Thank you, All Saints. But my rule of thumb now, because I was the kid that mucked around in school, and it was very easy to imitate, impersonate, and to observe things that were perhaps people's weaknesses, and surprise, surprise, that would always get a laugh out of the shock factor. Mm-hmm. But my rule of thumb tends to be, am I punching up or am I punching down?
Yeah.
The people if I'm going to poke fun at someone, is this just to elevate me above people who actually could really do with a bit of a lift up rather than more jokes? That tends to be it. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump, I think you can make a joke about Donald Trump, and you know what? That's exactly where the humour can be. But then when I hear like the racist comedy out there, the homophobic, it's just like...
Whereas if you held a mirror up to... I mean, I am a straight male, so I don't know, I wouldn't know enough about it to make smart jokes. But if you're holding up a mirror to Soho on a Saturday night and making jokes about what goes on, great. If you're making horrible just jokes about gay people, then get out, grow up, learn how to make people laugh. Do you know what I mean? It's horrible. I mean, case in point, if we're living in a musical theatre world, Book of Mormon, right? It's a masterpiece in that thing on the surface of it really mocks Mormons. It doesn't. What it does is just go, this is what they do. There is everything that is said in there is fact. And it's just kind of going, well, that's funny. That's really fun. And I think that's the key to it, isn't it? It's just kind of going, let's explore the world of truth rather than taking the piss out of something.
The other thing with comedy, which I think writers underestimate, because again, the amount of plays I get sent, which are, a long journey into the soul about someone's failed marriage, you know. And life is funny. And I've always said, and this is why I love doing comedies over dramas, always. Because if somebody's laughing, I know they're listening.
Yeah.
And actually, I did a comedy about AIDS.
Right, sure.
Which is a funny thing.
Yeah.
But it is the best way to address AIDS.
Yeah, of course it is. The best way to address anything.
I mean, because in that moment, I can have you laughing about all the preconceptions about it, and then I can come back with a line like, I'll take you as is.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, God.
But that's the key. That is that is the absolute key. And I have my friend Rich is a lovely actor. And he said to me once, and I never really thought about it, he said, you always do a switch. And I went, what do you mean? He went, you always just do a bit where you're really, angry.
A contrast?
And I'm like, well, yeah, because that's the point of it, isn't it? And if you're doing anything that is funny, unless it's really kind of silly and farcical and that, it should kind of be that line between comedy and tragedy, all things that you've heard before, but that line is very close. Name me a very funny character that isn't a bit of an underdog or isn't trying to battle something, And so I think that switch is the key bit. It's the joyous bit. It's the bit where you go, oh, I laughed, but I didn't expect to feel anything.
Who were the big influences? Who were the comedians that made you laugh when you were growing up as a kid? And they don't necessarily need to be famous. Who were the people that you looked at and went, I want to be like him or her?
Right. So my mum, dumpy little Jewish housewife.
I hope she's listening. Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, dumpy Jewish little housewife.
Yeah. Hey there. Hey, Bobby. So before she had me and my brother, she used to be a program organizer at Thames Television in like the heyday. So she used to do like the Kenny Everett show, the Morecambe and Wise show.
Wow.
She used to do the Today show. And she has got these stories, like she is a little unassuming permed woman. And she has got these stories with like Dame Edna and all of these people. And you're just like, who are you? Yeah. And my dad is a huge comedy fan. So I was brought up on the Two Ronnies and Morecambe and Wise and Python and all of that stuff. And what I loved, I remember this as a kid. I used to watch things and go, right, I like that one because of that. And I like these guys because of that. And I remember at a young age being able to go, oh, I don't just like that one type of comedy. I can really enjoy all of this for different reasons. Like I loved Some Mothers Do Have Them, purely for the physical element. Michael Crawford, who is a little bit of my kind of idol because he was, Frank Spencer and The Phantom and Barnum, which is my, is like the grail of if you want to be a showman.
All producers listening. Barnum, go Barnum. Lipkin in Barnum.
I think that show has had its day. I'm assuming that show has had its day. But those people, so I used to read Barry Cryer, Barry Cryer kind of sketchbooks and stuff, and Tommy Cooper, the timing. So watching Tommy Cooper, basically I was a really uncool kid. I was a little fat kid, and I knew nothing about football or all of that stuff. Like my dad and my brother are humongous Tottenham Hotspur fans, and I just didn't care. But I would watch Tommy Cooper, which then got me into magic. So I've done magic since I was a little boy, and I learned to juggle, and I kind of started writing when I was like 9 years old. I used to write plays and stuff, and they would always be comedies. They would always have business in them. I've got two friends who I did my very first like big job with, John Robbins and Giles Terrera, and we always annoyingly, we just talk to each other in an old Jewish American man voice. Whenever we pick up the phone, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with them in my own voice. Every time I pick up the phone to, hello, who is this? Like, it's...
You again.
What do you want? How did you get this number?
Where's my wife?
Yeah. So it was all business and things. And so I loved it. Watching Tommy Cooper, the timing, watching someone have the bravery, Morecambe and Wise, watching them have the bravery to hold laughs. And that's something I think we get really scared of. And I think directors, and you can help me with this, I think directors get scared. If I wouldn't say I've fallen out with directors, but I think directors sometimes get a little bit nervous about me because I will like hold a pause or play something. And of course, if the dramatic motivation of the show needs to keep going, then we keep going. But in terms of that stuff, when you're doing out and out, the bravery to go, it's all right, we can just stay quiet for a bit and we can ride this and we can do that. And people get scared to do everything's now like, keep going, don't let it stop, keep the dramatic intention going, you know. And I think actually it's hold this moment, like let it sit. And you look at Tommy Cooper and you look at Morecambe and Wise when Eric Morecambe would say something ridiculous and then they just hold and just look and enjoy the concept of going, what on earth is he talking? And it's a joyous moment. The difference between doing a big old dramatic piece of text and doing a comedy is that a lot of time you're right. You should, the fourth wall and you live in the world and it's truth and they don't exist. But in a comedy, they absolutely do exist. The audience do exist and you have to factor them in. You have to be aware of them. You have to know that the ebb and flow of the comedy is working because like anything, if you hit something that you think is going to be hilarious, right? But rhythmically, there was supposed to be a laugh there.
Yeah.
My money's on, obviously within reason, you go for something until there's a laugh there because rhythmically they need that. And you go little laugh, big laugh, huge laugh, back to little laugh. You're the editor. Someone described it to me as in film, you do the performance and then somebody else edits you together. On stage, you're the editor.
Yeah.
You know, you are in control. You are thinking about what am I going to do that will make these people laugh? Not when they want to, when I want them to.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a skill. Oh, God, I sound like a wanker.
You are on a theatre podcast. I mean, you're just going to have to accept there is going to be a lot of wank. But the wank is where the truth is. I mean, oh my God, that's even wanky in itself. This is just a wank fest. No, but you're right, though, because, and the only time we ever say, like, oh, it's a bit wanky, is actually when we talk about something that we genuinely think we know, because it is a craft. And that's why you can't just get some idiot off the street and go be funny.
No, I care about it so much. I really do. I really do. I love the art form of trying to make people laugh. And not in everyday life. I'm like mediocre funny at best in everyday life. But I just think it's a brilliant thing. It's a brilliant thing to know that people have turned up and laughed.
Hi, this is Scott Garnham, and it's fair to say I've been in a few flops. This is the Show People podcast with Andrew Keates, which most certainly isn't a flop.
Let's start at the very beginning.
I'm not saying it.
He's not going to say it.
No, I'm not, because I'm not going to say it.
He's too cool for school.
I'm not too cool for school. I'm just, I know other people would have said it and I don't want to be that guy.
So we're just...
You don't tell me who I'm supposed to be, okay?
All right.
You never let me be who I want to be.
This is what you're like. I heard it's a diva.
Shh, too loud.
So you attended...
Yeah, go on.
Ilford Jewish Primary School.
How the fuck do you know that?
I know everything about you, Simon Lipkin. I even know where your bar mitzvah was. Southwark Essex Reformed Synagogue.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I genuinely, I didn't know that. I couldn't remember that. Go on. Yeah, go on.
So originally from Essex boy.
Yeah.
What was your childhood like?
What was my childhood like?
Let's do all of it.
Yeah, all right. Perfectly lovely. Yeah, it was nice. Mum, dad, me, my brother. Grew up in Gants Hill, went to Ilford Jewish Primary School, as you know, and just sort of plodded along. It was quite nice. And then had a normal childhood. Dad's a lawyer. Mum retrained she worked with kids with like learning difficulties and special needs and stuff. And she's a medium. My
Is
mum.
she? Your mum's a medium?
Yeah.
So she'll know you're on the show today.
Well, you'd think, but I mean, and here's the good thing.
Do you believe your mum's a medium?
I believe my mum.
Right.
I believe, she has a lovely way of thinking about it. She knows how I feel about it. She knows that I have no hard feelings or horrible feelings or anything towards it. I have no purpose or need to believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm quite a realist. And that's not to say that it is, but here's how she talks about it, which I find fascinating. She says, I don't really care about doing the, you had a grandma named Betsy and a dog named Chow Chow. She sees it as a form of counselling, which I think is really interesting, is that she just sits across from someone. And the only reason that she might say that, you walked with a limp until you were 12 years old was purely so that you trust her. And then you just talk like you would in a counselling session or a therapy session. And she just listens and tries to guide you. Her difference to it is that she is in a place where she can maybe take, inspiration, but she just describes it as a feeling. It's just intuition. That's how I look at it. That's how she describes it. And I quite like that.
Yeah.
Also, she refuses to take any money from anyone for it ever. And if anyone does give her money, she gives it to charity. Because
I'm sort of in love with you, Mum. She looked after Kenny Everett and she does that.
I know, she's a right prick, isn't she?
I really want to have dinner with her now.
No, she's got good stories. How about this? She got Stan Lee. My dad's a big comic fan. And she got Stan Lee to sign a whole bunch of original comics for him. And my dad, because he's a bit like me and not a hoarder, just went, about 20 years ago when it was all a bit irrelevant, just went, just give them away.
No.
I mean,
no.
We were sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah.
We could have gone to Tahiti.
Yeah.
You fucked it.
So I've also got here, your mum did TV production. Bill Grundy show in 76.
How do you know? How did you find this?
Because I know everything, Simon Lipkin.
So you know that famous thing where the Sex Pistols swore on TV? There's that famous, that's my mum's fault.
No way.
Yeah, she was in the control booth and she got the phone call by someone asking a question. She put it through into his earpiece and then all went wrong. So she's amazing, my mum. She is wonderful. She's the most wonderful person. She's amazing. And that's why I think with all of that stuff, I think that's beautiful and brilliant. Just because I don't have belief in it doesn't mean that I can't, there's some things that she has said to people that you're like, there's no way that you knew it. And there are a lot of people who talk bollocks.
Yeah. Derek Acora.
Yes. Psychic Sally.
Oh shit. Do you know what?
Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure they're all right, but she's my mum and I love her.
Yeah.
And she's amazing.
So, speaking of people very different to your mum now, your classmates included Nicholas Holt and Tom Fletcher when you were at school.
Yeah. We were in different years, but they were, but at Sylvia Young's we're talking about.
We had Frances Ruffell on the other day.
Great, yeah. She is about as Sylvia Young's as you can get. She literally came from Sylvia Young. Yeah.
Literally.
So I was at that. I went there later. I changed schools. So I went to a school called Bancroft's, which looks like Hogwarts. And you take in like 15 GCSEs in Latin and Greek civilization. And
sounds
stuff
really
like
up your street.
Yeah, I loved it so much. All those boys training to be in the army. They were so nice to hang out with. I keep in touch with all of them. I literally can't remember most of their names.
Thank God for Facebook.
Right?
You can find out about all their kids.
What's great now is that these kids who were, let's call them dicks. Now I get messages going like, "Hi, saw you in a show with so-and-so. Can we get tickets?"
No,
of course you can't.
No, you're a dick.
No, but the worst thing is I still probably would because I'm like, kill 'em with kindness. Yeah. So I left there. I was just pretty unhappy there. And I remember saying to my mum and dad, I want to go to this place. I've heard this place, Sylvia Young's. I've heard of it. I remember they did a documentary about it.
Yeah.
So I watched that and I was like, it's a magical place where like,
oh no, this is taking me back. That's gone. Everything's gone from our childhood.
Everything's gone.
Everything.
So I said, I would really like to go there. And they were like, no, look, you're on course. You're meant to go to like Oxford and study law and stuff like that. That was kind of the
so
path.
Unusual for a young Jewish boy to study law.
Right. Yeah. So I said, I would like to go here. And I didn't know this until many years later. So they call up the school and they speak to Sylvia, who's from the same area. She's from Wanstead. It's where the school started.
Yeah.
And Sylvia says to them, I know the school. Why would he want to leave that school? And they said, well, look, he's really passionate about it. And Sylvia says to them, bring him in and I will dissuade him
Oh my word.
from coming here. And they go, great. Great. We don't look like the bad guys.
Yeah.
So off we trot from Gants Hill to Marylebone. I am turned up at this place and I'm like, it's the building from the telly. And we go in and I chat and clearly I was meant to be a lawyer because I made a case. I went in and I just spoke to her and
How old are you now? About 16, are we thinking? And
no. Sylvia's finished. I was 12, 13.
Jeez, okay.
13, maybe, 13 years old. Yeah, because I went for the last 2 years.
Right.
So I sat there and I spoke to her and I told her how I felt and how passionate about all of this stuff that I was. And she said, okay. And she said, come and let's go into the next room into the studio. Sing me a song. And I think I sung Any Dream Will Do from Joseph.
That is exactly what I want you to sing in all future concerts.
Right, yeah.
Perfect.
Because I look like a Joseph.
Yeah, totally.
And then she said, do you know any speeches or anything? And I think I did... I did a speech from Midsummer Night's Dream. I did the bottom speech where he wakes up if my next cue comes, call me, where he finds out that he's a donkey and ass. And so that happens, and my parents are sat in the next room, and then we go back into the next room, and Sylvia, there's this pause. I remember it. There's this pause, and she just goes, "We're just going to keep him for a little bit longer."
Oh.
And I saw the look on my parents' face that was like, "What's happening? What's happening?
What has she done?
What's happening?
What
What's
has she
happening?"
done?
And so went home that night. Apparently, they phoned the school phone, I think, and said he can start the start of the next term, which was in a couple of weeks. And apparently they sat up all night until about 5, 6 in the morning and just went, well, if he's this passionate about it, and let him do it.
Good parents. Really good parents.
Amazing. We can all have stuff about our parents. I'm sure we all as humans do stuff and make mistakes.
Yeah.
But the amount of people that I've heard that have been told, you have to just do it the sensible way. Just do this. And if you're still interested in however many years, and they did that amazing thing. And without that choice of them going, let them do it. So for them to have the brilliant courage, support in a child and go, let's let him do it. It was amazing. And I went there and I remember I left Bancroft's and I said goodbye to a kid. It was whatever term it was. And I said, bye, I'm not coming back next term. And no one believed me. No one believed me that I wasn't coming back. And I was like, okay. I remember this kid was driving past in his car and I just waved goodbye to him like, see ya. And he stuck his middle finger up at me and called me a fat C-U-N-T through the window. And then I turned up on the first day at Sylvia's and it was someone's birthday. And they went, we've got a cake. And they said, oh, someone should play the piano. And I nervously went, I'll play it.
Oh.
And I sat there and I played piano for this person that I didn't know that walked in and everyone sung in 56-part harmony. And I was like, I've arrived. It was. And from that point on, I felt like a human being. I felt like I'm not a weirdo.
Yeah.
There were these kids there that were all as weird as me. And that amazing thing to just know that, and I don't know what the age range of people that listen to this is, but if you think that you're a little weirdo, awesome.
Yeah.
Be a little weirdo. Be brilliant and stick with it, because I was in a room full of little weirdos and it was amazing. It was the best thing ever.
I'm so glad with this podcast. I've had quite a few people on from varying decades who have been to Sylvia's.
Yeah.
From John Barr, back when it first started. Johnny Barr was just a brilliant human being, to obviously to Francis. And there are other mates out there I know that have been. Stevie Webb, for example.
Oh, yes. He was a year above it. So he was Tom's year. He was a year above.
Oh, was he? But it's so funny because, people can be really snobby about people's training. Some people go to the Rudder, which is a great school.
Yeah, of course.
But it is funny. There's so many people come and talk about their time at Sylvia's as, some kids grow up and read about Harry Potter and their time at Hogwarts. Every time I hear someone talk about Sylvia's, they light up in the same way.
It's a magical place. It was a brilliant place. It was a brilliant, brilliant place. And it was, you were working. You were there and it was, you were doing jobs and you called teachers by their first names because you had to learn how to work with adults as peers and you were part of a little team and it was amazing. It was really brilliant. And I still, to this day, say that my training, I went somewhere afterwards.
Yeah.
But I still say that my training comes from, especially my acting training, is from Sylvia's.
Now, obviously, the other place to talk about is Art Ed.
I left after a year.
He stormed out and said, not for me.
Essentially, yes.
Now, hang on. So, again, this is where it's interesting because same age, knowing the perception and knowing what places were like, which are very different.
Yeah.
Art Ed is not the same school as it was.
Yeah.
But it was the dancers' school then.
Right. It was kind of, I think, when I went there, because I wanted to go, so I left Sylvia at 16 years old.
Yeah.
And I wanted to crack on with it. And I wanted to go to the RADA or somewhere like that. And they all just went, you're 16. Nope.
Yeah.
And so I think, where did I go? I got into like Lanes, which was like the dancers' school. And Art Ed just seemed a bit more like all-roundy kind of thing. It was that kind of vibe. So I was like, yeah, sure, we'll go here. I have no interest in dancing whatsoever, but we'll go here. But it was still very dance based. And so I went, and at 16, and they kind of said, there was me and a couple of other guys that went from Sylvia's to Arts, and they basically just said to us, you won't get a degree, but you can come and do the training.
Right.
And so I was like, yeah, all right. This isn't a job where you are overly worried about qualifications.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fine, sure. Went there, and it was just crazy dance based, and it's like you say, it's a very different place now. Chris Hocking runs the place now, and does a great job of it.
Yeah. But from an observation with the time I've spent with you,
yes,
you don't strike me as someone who would particularly flourish in any kind of institution.
I don't do well with that.
No,
I don't do well.
I can
with that.
sort of read like, be at this place at this time and wear that. You don't strike me as the person to go, I'm going to be,
sir. Yeah, no, I'm going to be late and I'm going to be stark bollock naked out of protest. Yeah.
I mean,
no, I'm not very good with all of that. And even at a young age, I was like, they were like, I remember, I'm not going to name any names.
No.
I remember someone saying, you must learn, you will never be a leading man. So you have to learn. You have to lose. I was still chubby. You have to lose all of this weight. They used to make me do classes with a top off and weigh me every week and all of that malarkey.
Abuse. Yeah.
Sure, but it was a different time, you know.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. If only we could go back to the old days.
Yeah, right. I loved it. But having said that, there were people there that loved that kind of stay in line and do that. That's how people thrive. I've never been one of those people. I like a collaborative, happy work environment, you know. Or to be in charge. Like it's, so they did all of that. And I remember them saying, you'll never be a leading man. So you just do all of this stuff because you have to learn how to just be an ensemble. And I remember firstly saying, I remember the words, just be an ensemble member. And my instant lawyer response to it was, what do you mean just be an ensemble member? No, well, but you're not the leading man type, maybe a character actor, but we don't want you getting any fatter. Okay, but also, firstly, there's nothing wrong with it because surely we should all earn our stripes and do all of this kind of stuff. Secondly, how dare you tell me what I can't do? How dare you? Thanks for helping me shoot for the...
But you say this, I had something very, very similar.
Right.
It was the most useful thing in my life.
Right.
The moment anyone says you can't do that, you just go, oh, you've set a fire. Watch me, I'll do it.
Yeah, of course.
Whereas if somebody had said to you, oh, Simon, you're so good, you'd probably go, I'm bored of this now.
Yeah, 100%.
Because then you would have achieved it. Then you would have just gone, oh, I can do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I remember that, and it was a whole bunch of things, and I think there was something stupid about, oh God, I think they used to let you take time off to do your driving test or something like that. So I had my driving test booked for the next day and I'd saved up and paid for it. And then the night before they said, you can't do it because you've got to be here for rehearsals for some non-public showing of a performance of art.
Yeah.
And I was like, nope, I'm going.
There's no surge.
I'm going. And I was like, you said yes, so you can't go back on that. It's legally binding.
Yeah.
So I went and did it, and I came in and they were like, you're suspended. And I was like, I'm suspended, I leave.
And you did.
Yeah. And it was stupid. Like, it was really, that was the point where my dad went, right.
Yeah.
We backed you. What have you done?
Yeah.
And so it all kind of was a little bit tense. So I called up, I used to work at this theatre called the Kenneth More Theatre in Ilford, which is where I kind of earned my stripes doing Amdram and stuff. But like the people that came out of that theatre oya, broch.
Yeah.
Like, wait, translation. Like, oh my Lord. Like, Jodie Jacobs, it was me, Jodie Jacobs, Nick Greenshields.
Whatever happened to them?
Right. So, like, there was just this whole bunch of people that came out of there that kind of did this stuff. So I went back to there and I went, I've just dropped out. And this amazing man, Vivian Ellicott, who kind of looked after me from a young age in that sense, said, right, you shall follow Spot the pantomime because you need a job. And I was like, all right. Yeah. So I did that. And then one of the guys that I had known for years that was sort of one of the dancers in the pantomime said, I'm helping choreograph on this job thing on a cruise ship.
The Oriana.
Do you want an audition? And I was like, yeah. So I went along. I had a sing-song for, I think it was Paul Elliott, who used to run, he did Buddy in the West End and stuff. So they were putting Buddy on the ship. It was like the first of the putting this a full West End musical on the ship. So we did that, and I went in and auditioned, and then I went back and auditioned, and they said, have you got your song from last time? And I didn't know that you had to bring it, so I said no. And I they called up, they said, we've offered you the job, and they offered me, they said, this is the money. I didn't have an agent. This is the money, and I didn't know to negotiate, so I just went, yep. And I remember the surprise on the other end of the phone that was just like, what?
Oh, lovely.
Oh, yeah, no, that's okay, great. Good. Yeah, no, good. Sure. We're signing on that amount of money.
Lovely.
Okay, great. And so I went off and sailed around the world for like 6-7 months. Worst thing is I get very bad seasickness.
Really?
Yeah, terrible. It was an awful idea, but it was great. That sort of finished off my I kind of see that. It was my first job, but I kind of see that as finishing off my training.
Hi, this is John Barr, and you're listening to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keates.
Now, Simon, you're going to have to excuse me because I've got to get my tips out. That's right. Here are my theatrical tips of things you need to go and see this October 2018. The Height of the Storm. Andre and Madeline have been in love for over 50 years. This weekend, as their daughters visit, something feels unusual. A bunch of flowers arrives, but who sent them? A woman from the past turns up, but who is she? And why does Andre feel like he isn't there at all? The Height of the Storm is a beautifully compelling family drama by Florian Zeller and stars the legends that are Jonathan Pryce and Dame Eileen Atkins. It plays at the Wyndham's Theatre from the 1st of October until the 1st of December. Visit theheightofthestorm.com. Don Quixote. After a lifetime of reading books on chivalry, one eccentric old man heads off on a rumbustious quest to become a wandering knight, accompanied by his faithful and equally ill-suited servant. Starring David Threlfall as Don Quixote and the Show People podcast guest Rufus Hound as Sancho. Taking up a lance and a sword, Don Quixote sets out on a hilarious journey across medieval Spain, defending the helpless and vanquishing the wicked. Hopelessly unprepared and increasingly losing his grip on reality, with each calamitous adventure the two hapless heroes experience, the romantic ideal of Quixote's books seems further away than ever. Following its sellout run at the Swan Theatre in Stratford-upon-Avon in 2016 to mark the 400th anniversary of Cervantes' death, this production of the legendary comic novel is told by a company of 20 actors, accompanied by a band of live musicians. Plays at the Garrick Theatre from the 27th of October 2018 until the 2nd of February 2019. Visit nemaxtheatres.com. Porgy and Bess. Set in 1920 South Carolina, the Gershwins' Porgy and Bess is a thought-provoking, gritty and spirited folk opera. When Bess is abandoned by her lover, the only person who shows her kindness is the crippled beggar Porgy. They commit to a new life together, but the destructive forces of a violent ex-lover and drug dealer work against Bess to pull the pair apart. It features a sensational, wonderful operatic score with jazz, gospel and blues influence, and it plays at the London Coliseum from the 11th of October to the 17th of November 2018. Visit eno.org. What did you do to start out? What did you do to survive? What were your survival jobs, to use that old term?
So I before I went on the ship, I did the spotlight at the Kenneth More, and then I think I worked maybe for a week or two in a pub, and I don't drink.
Don't you?
No. So that was really difficult working in a pub because I didn't know what any of the drinks were. I didn't know. So when someone else, I remember some first time someone else for like a chaser, and I was like, "What?
Oh, what?"
So I did that, but I was relatively. I came back off the cruise ship, and I did a pantomime at the Kenneth More, and then I luckily got an agent. So someone on the ship that I was on there with said, "Oh, my agent's leaving."
Bloomfields, isn't it?
That's right.
Terrifying. You're absolutely terrified by this, aren't you?
No, it's all right. It's good. It's like a magic trick.
This is your life. This is your life.
My mum worked on that as well.
Did she?
Yeah. So Emma Bloomfield was starting up her own agency and had no clients when she was moving. And so I kind of went for this meeting with her where we just chatted essentially about being Jewish.
Yeah.
I had nothing to show for it. She had no idea if I was any good or not. Apart from this girl that had moved with her went, yeah, he's good. He's the sort of lead singer on the thing. And I went, and she was about to do pantomime for one of the big companies. And she had to go for a meeting with one of the heads there. And so I went with her on a day off from the ship to like wherever we had to go and meet him. And he went, "Oh, who's that? Is he one of the sailors?" And she went, "No, he's the lead singer." And he went, "Oh, I need a prince in wherever it was." And so I just called her up and I was just like, "Look, I know this is weird because we've only had a chat, but I've been offered this thing and I just don't know how to deal with it. I don't know what to do. Will you help me?" And she went, "Yeah, all right." And so she just helped me with this thing. And then we never signed a contract. And then I was with her for like 13 years.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I got back off the ship, did this pantomime. She called me up and she said, "There's an audition for Joseph, for Ken Wright's production." And so I went along and I got it.
And you were Pharaoh in Joseph, weren't you?
So it was this is a slightly weird one. So I got cast as Pharaoh, and then in Ken Wright fashion, should we call it?
Yeah.
They brought someone else back in for forever to do it, and I think I maybe played it for like a week somewhere, but because it had been offered, so technically, nope, I was a brother, and I covered it the whole time. But because they had offered that to me, and regardless, I was like, well, I'm still going to put that. I think it was Emma. It was like, well, we're still going to put that down, and so that's probably the only mild faff on my CV, but you've got to have one in there somewhere, haven't you?
There's a few other. I mean, you in those early days, you were king of pantomime. You were Dandini in Cinderella. The Prince in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah, that's right.
With Michael Vivian.
Yeah,
but I have to get to it. We have to talk about it. It is the show that you will be 80 years old one day, lecturing at the RADA, and people will still ask you about it. Yeah. I saw it. You guys were rock stars, and that is, of course, Avenue Q.
Yes.
So you were in the original cast, played
I was.
Nicky and Trekkie.
Yeah.
Trekkie, obviously the best character in the show,
sure.
Obviously.
Sure.
I mean, how did that come about? Was it as simple as got an audition and got it?
Yeah, kind. So I was doing Joseph, and this thing came up, Avenue Q, and I knew it. You know, it was on Broadway. But so originally, Avenue Q was meant to start at the Stratford East Theatre.
Interesting.
It was meant to start at the Stratford East and then maybe go into the West End. So I remember it, early September. I was 19 years old, and I went to the Stratford East Theatre and sung a couple of songs and did some stuff. And they stuck a puppet on my arm and went, "Just talk with that." And I did that. And then 9 auditions later, because it's a weird show, isn't it? Firstly, you've got to go, can you do the voices that we need to? Are you right for this thing? Next, can you do the voices for this thing? Next, can you puppeteer? And then the normal round of, okay, now we've figured out who we've actually got to choose from. Now let's start again and do these people are up for this, these people are up for this, these people are up for this. So 9 auditions. And I couldn't, I could do the voices and I could puppeteer as much as anyone else who had never puppeteered could puppeteer. but I couldn't sing it. It was too high for me. It was too high. And I think this is the slight difference between the American industry and the British industry. They just went, well, so we'll change it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was kind of I never knew any of this. I got this phone call one day from my agent and said, Trevor Jackson and Evan Ensign, who was the associate on the show, would like to take you out for the evening. And I, at 19 years old, with no experience, I was like, what? Okay. So I went out and we went to see Edward Scissorhands.
My word, that's going back.
At Sadler's Wells. And then we went for dinner afterwards, and that was it. And then
where was dinner? That's the most important part.
Oh, I've got no idea. It was some bar-y, pubby thing round the corner. I was too nervous to eat, which is really unlike me. Really unlike me. And then I did another audition, and then I was doing a pantomime in Swansea. I think it was Snow White. I think it was with Gillian Tailforth, old Kath from EastEnders. And I was in rehearsals, and I had a sword strapped around my waist, and my phone rang, and so I went outside, and they said, "You've got the job," and I was like, "What?" And they went, "You've got the job," and I was like, "The cover," and they went, "No, you've got the part."
No.
And I went, "Call them back, double check." So they went, all right. They put the phone down. Obviously, they didn't call them back.
No.
But they left it 5-10 minutes, called me back and went, "We've checked. You've got the..." And I was like, what? So, and that was it. So 19 years old and that came along, and it was... I don't even know where to begin with it. It was amazing. It was... Here's the thing. At 19 years old, I had no idea of its value and its weight, because I was just like a bit spoiled in that sense, I guess. A bit like, oh well, this is happening next, and I'm a very go with the flow kind of person. I kind of, and so that was it, and we were off, and so we started rehearsals a couple of months after that. I think we started in maybe the April of 2006, and did a week purely of puppeteering with a guy called Peter Linz, who is, if you've seen the Muppets films, he's Walter in the Muppets films, and so we did a week of that, and then we were off, and I was 20 years old by the time that we had started, and it was the most amazing experience, and I think it was a tiny cast. You've got 7 on stage, and I think 13 in the cast, with sort of 3 ensemble and a couple of swings and stuff. And I was on stage with people who were phenomenal.
Yeah.
They were phenomenal. You had, Julie Atherton and John Robbins and Giles Terrera, who Giles is, I defy you to find a better performer.
Yeah.
I learnt so much from him. I kind of watched this man right at the start of rehearsals and went, if I can ever emulate or be anything like that man, I will be lucky. I don't even know how to describe what he has. Like, it's just this ease, this brilliant charm, it's so placed and it's so well crafted whilst looking like zero effort, which is the best. I don't like actors where you can see the cogs turning. They're maybe very proficient and maybe very brilliant, and they are wonderful. But I like someone who you watch and just go, "Oh, you're making this look easy, and I know how hard this is."
Well, if I can say, I mean, I remember seeing it at the Noel Coward.
You would be right.
So
that was the thing. So it switched. So it was meant to be at the Stratford East, and then we just got a call going, no, it's just going straight into town.
But I remember seeing you, and I now realise that again I would have seen you because of when I went to drama school at what age that was. We were seeing exactly the same age and going, there's somebody out there with similar eyebrows to my own, and the second thought, I thought, here is clearly a skilled, funny, likeable, and I think that's something really important to remember. You are so likeable on stage. the problem is when you meet you off stage.
Yeah,
but I just remember, I remember you so vividly, and having similar thoughts, thinking to myself, God, he makes this look so easy, and yet, knowing what I know now, I mean, how on earth did you keep up those voices? How did you keep up? I mean, I've held similar puppets. I mean, Trekkie is the weight of a carpet, pretty much, isn't he?
Well, yeah, they're built brilliantly. But here's the thing: I'm not a very good singer. I'm not a particularly great actor.
Shush.
No, but I'm really not. But I think that was the key. I didn't think about it. I didn't overthink. I just kind of went, no, and just did the voice.
Yeah.
And then you kind of just go, well, yeah, do that.
And you never lost your voice from it? It was just there?
I mean, no more than like the normal amount of losing your voice a little bit kind of thing, like when you're knackered. But no, I just did it. And I think if you don't think about it, if you don't try and like think, where's the placement of this voice? You just kind of go, well, that'll come out. They looked after us like there was no tomorrow. And this thing that kind of started that we had no idea how it was going to go down got panned by the critics. I remember one saying something like they didn't even attempt ventriloquism. And you kind of go, right, good. But we just, it was crazy. It was crazy for a puppet show. We were on endless TV shows and doing things, but also I think what Avenue Q did, it was I'm not going to say the first show, but one of the first shows to embrace the whole YouTube kind of that and the fandom that went with it. So we were constantly making videos that were being put up on YouTube, or that which was the only form of social media,
and was new, if you can imagine that,
right?
Listeners.
Crazy. Back when we had mobile phones,
Nokias.
Yeah, like Snake was the most advanced thing.
We clearly both had a Tamagotchi at school. It's so clear.
I constantly killed mine. So yeah, you just kind of did it, and they really did look after us. They really did look after us very well. But I just think. There's that old cliched saying of do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life, which I think is bollocks. I think, of course, you work a day in your life. But we loved it. And the show was a brilliant team. You were on stage with people that you felt so safe with and that you felt so in tune with. We were friends, the team, the backstage, everything about that show was joyous. Like it was the things that we used to get up to and do, and it was so wonderful, and it will be a time in my life that I will always remember. And I kind of wish I did it when I was older, in one sense, because I would appreciate what was happening. And then in a weird way, I'm over the moon that I didn't know what was happening, because I think, like we were talking about earlier, I came into it with a sense of play. I just kind of was like, I'm just going to do stupid stuff, which I think is what got me the job in the first place, because there were other very experienced performers that were up for that job that I now know. I mean, hell, the guy that I was up against is this, I think he's a little known actor now called Luke Evans.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him.
Never heard
Like
of him.
I think maybe he's made some movies and stuff like that.
Quite dodgy Quasimodo sort of looks about him.
Not handsome in the slightest or talented.
No.
So there were people like that, and I think I just came in with this sort of little energy that was just like, we're just going to do stupid stuff.
Hello, this is Trekkie Monster, all the way from Avenue Q. You are listening to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keates. Yeah! Who is Andrew Keates? Who the fuck? Huh?
You said to me right at the beginning that Monty Python was one of the big things growing up, and lo and behold, you're playing Galahad in the Monty Python musical.
Yeah, I took that job partially for my dad.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, a happy time, I take it.
Brilliant, really brilliant. I mean, to do that stuff on stage every night was exceptional. And I got to meet some amazing people, like Sam Holmes, who was in that. Is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Graham McDuff and Marcus Brigstock. There were really wonderful people in that, and very funny people on stage doing very funny stuff. So we reworked it with Eric Idle. And he kind of, whether this was true or whether this was just the budgetary constraints put upon it he kind of said, look, we loved the original production. It's big and Broadway and kind of that. But he said, if we were going to do this, we would have done this with 5-6 guys and a couple of girls and just done blokes on stage, very basic, which is kind of what it was. And he loved it. And we rewrote bits and we worked, and Chris Luscombe directed it, who's a brilliant director.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of this much more, it's kind of what you'd imagine if it was kind of 70s, them just doing a live stage version of it. It wouldn't have been all singing or dancing. It would have been just the lads on stage doing their thing, you know?
Because Spamalot went through some, and again, this is the producer side of me, it did go from Tim Curry, an orchestra of 25, you know, the Palace Theatre, and then the tour happened, went, well, sort of half the orchestra, and Tim's not available, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And then you got to the final production, which I think was just 2 lesbians and a whippet.
But isn't that so Python-esque? And it's right. If they would have done that, they would have been like, live from the Palace Theatre, a cast of 36. No, wait, live on tour with a cast of 7. That they would have done that.
You then did Rock of Ages.
Yes, I did.
Of course.
Yes, I did.
I mean, did you think you would ever be doing a show like that with music like that? When you say to me, you know, parts of Avenue Q were a bit high, and lo and behold, here you are doing fucking Rock of Ages.
Right, yeah.
That's a bit of a journey.
I couldn't sing that either. They sent me to this vocal coach, a brilliant vocal coach. And they sent a bunch of us to him to safely learn how to sing those songs that shouldn't be sung
by any human other than
8
the
times a week.
Unique individuals that created them.
Yeah, exactly. And even they didn't sing them night after night, kind of thing. So yeah, it was insane. But again, that falls into the same category. I went in a room and they stuck some script in front of me, and let's hark back. I just went wherever they expected it to go left, I went the other way. I just did stupid stuff and played jokes, because that's what that part in Rock of Ages, I was not there. I had to sing and I had to do all of that stuff, but I was there to do the funny talking.
Yeah.
And I really loved it. I really loved it, and I love that music. I love listening to it. I didn't think I'd ever be singing it, but I love listening to it.
Yeah.
And that, again, was this kind of crazy roller coaster of a show. You know, I was all of a sudden in skin-tight jeans with a mullet and...
I remember.
Yeah. I defy you to have as good a night out as something like Rock of Ages. You know, it's same. We were Rock Q, Motown, whatever you want to do. For those people that... We don't make theatre for the educated theatre goer. We make theatre for people. And those people like different stuff. And... something like Rock of Ages, which was just brilliant music with some very funny, you know, dialogue and very sexy people in it and brilliant singers. It was just a really good night out. It was a really good night out, and it was dumb and stupid and brilliant and funny. It started in a strip club in LA. Like if you're going to do that show, that's where you start it.
Yeah.
I mean, there were brilliant people in it. I mean, like Ollie Thompson. I mean, his voice is phenomenal, and he's a brilliant actor and a brilliant person and a great dad, and he's handsome on a hoot. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, that show.
My previous guest was the one, the only, Scott Garnham.
Yeah.
And we spoke about I Can't Sing. How did that come about?
Maybe a year and a half before the show went on, 2 years, something like that. Got a call saying Harry Hill's workshopping this thing, and would you come and do it? You'd be a talking dog.
Great.
Now, my instant reaction was X Factor the musical. Nah. The one thing that got me going about it was Harry Hill.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big fan, and I know he splits the polls. You know, some people like him, some people don't like his style. But what I did learn very quickly is that undeniably that Harry Hill is a brilliant comedy writer. Yeah. It's very Python-esque. It's very kind of anarchic, weird, that kind of vibe. And I loved it. And then you listen to the music that Steve Brown wrote, and there were some cracking tunes in there. And all of a sudden you were like, okay, this thing is really funny. And I think in the first workshop, I don't know if I'm allowed to say all of this, in the first workshop, so it was me, Paul Thornley was playing Simon Cowell, who's now on Broadway playing Ron Weasley in Harry Potter. I don't know if I'm allowed to name drop all of these people.
Yeah, you can.
Fleischman, Richard Fleischman was the young kind of male part in it. There was all sorts in there, and it was good. And then very quickly we did another workshop where Kate Prince came on and we did all the choreography stuff. So I was in a room full of Zoo Nation dancers. That was a treat for me. I loved the hip hop improv circle in the morning. I was so good in that. I used to bring a different magic trick every day. So when it got to my turn, I'd just go in the middle and do a magic trick, and they had to try and repeat that. Try that, you fucking bendy arm bastards.
I bet you did the Macarena. I just know you would have done the Macarena at some point.
And then we did another workshop, which was at the Soho Theatre. And kind of this small cast of brilliant people, Charlie Baker and all sorts, and it was everyone doubling up and playing multiple roles and just very funny people in a room. And then we got told, right, everyone's coming to watch this workshop, and it was Simon Cowell with his entourage of Alicia Dixon and David Walliams and Amanda Holden and I remember Matt
The Greats. I think they're referred to as The Greats.
The Greats. They're recommissioning Mount Rushmore with just them on it. But like Matt Lucas was there, Lenny Henry was there, like just these fucking random people that you were like, why are you here? So for those of you that don't know, whenever you do these workshop presentations, they are full of people that will either invest or maybe people that they would want to be in it, or lighting designers and people. No one is watching it, and especially if you're doing a comedy, 9 times out of 10, no one's laughing because they just don't. They either don't have a sense of humor and they're not there for that. They're there to look at it as a business commodity, or they're funny people who tend to not laugh at stuff. I'm one of my friends take the piss out of me all the time when they sit next to me in the theatre because I'm watching it with an analytical eye. It's awful.
When it's like that feeling when you watch comedy on telly, for example, you get that internal laugh, which if the same joke were done on stage, people would probably laugh out loud.
Oh, of
you know
course.
that it's that feeling.
Yeah. And I will sit there and go, yeah, that was super funny. So we're doing this thing, and even like Harry comes up to us before it starts and goes, look, this is weird. There's about 150, 200 people in there. This is weird. I don't think we're going to get any laughs, but just do it. So we're fine. I've got a puppet on my arm. So for those of you that didn't see
unusually, yes.
I've got a puppet dog on my arm, and there is the lead girl in it. I am her pet dog who no one can understand apart from the audience. Essentially, I was Harry Hill's voice. Like when you watch TV burp and something happens, he makes a comment on it. That was the sort of purpose of my character. So we start this thing, and it starts getting laughs, and a lot of laughs. And then by the time that we're into it, people are like wiping away the tears laughs. Simon Cowell's sitting at the back, and it really, especially in that workshop version, it really went. It was funny, but it was like really holding up that mirror. Like he was in hysterics, and the whole thing finished, and it was a little bit of a whirlwind. And we had been told afterwards they were all scooting off into this room that they had booked to have a meeting about it, to see whether Simon had given it its okay and all of that kind of stuff. Because obviously it's his thing. And I think here's the thing to remember about the X Factor, which a lot of performers get very annoyed about. And fine, understandably, they are not making a singing competition. They are making a piece of light entertainment on a Saturday or Sunday night and all of that stuff. And I get it. And I get that there's arguments to be made that it dampens the music industry and all of that kind of stuff. But they are making TV. And they know that. So they had to kind of give it its blessing. And at the end of this thing finishes, and Simon Cowell comes marching towards the stage, gets up and says, hi, look, I know we're supposed to go into this room next door, but let's do it. Oh. And it was kind of weirdly, it was a bit like the X Factor. Yeah. It was like, we've got 4 yeses.
You're all going to boot camp.
You're going to boot camp. It was crazy. And you could see like Harry's face and all of the producers, they were like, and it was kind of lovely. And then the show went, and Andrew Lloyd Webber, he kind of went, I want to do it in the biggest theatre. And this is the point where it started to unravel. We're going to do it in the biggest theatre. And Andrew Lloyd Webber gave him the Palladium, and we're going to make it huge. And if I'm doing a musical, it's going to be the biggest thing. And all of a sudden, this beautiful piece of satire that was funny and smart and clever got bigger, and the cast went up to a cast of, I think it was almost 40 people in the cast, and the set and millions upon millions upon millions of pounds, and this thing just got, and the death of comedy is having to fight against that kind of stuff, you know. And all of a sudden, and then, you know, they cast it, and obviously there were people in it, and people had certain agendas and things that they wanted to try and do, and you've got a director and Harry and a writer and producers and Simon Cowell and everyone from Psycho, and all of a sudden all of these people can have an opinion, and as you will well know, usually there's maybe 1-2 people that can put their foot down and go, enough now, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
They could all put their foot down and go, enough now,
death by committee.
Right. So all of a sudden this thing, and you could just sort of kind of see it going, well, this is still really funny. And there's some brilliantly funny bits about this, but this isn't quite what we started as. And then we started, and I think the misconception about the whole thing is that, sure, I think the title was wrong. More people could have come and seen it. Sometimes we were packed, sometimes we weren't packed. Like, it was a normal show. Had that show been in a 900-seater, it would have been able to last longer. But I think very simply, it financially just didn't make sense, so they pulled it.
Yeah.
And that I think is the baseline of it.
And this is a question. This is probably a tricky question, and one that I'm finding myself ask more and more people. Like, when you have a long-running show, and you go, great, that's my mortgage or my rent sorted, and let's book that holiday to Marbella. Yeah. And you have all these things planned, and then you get the news, sorry, mate, but we're putting the show.
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck do you do? Like, it must. I mean, it's obviously hard, but I mean, do you just have to? Do you constantly save whilst you're being paid and putting it in a savings account?
Well, of course, like anyone, you try and, you know, be sensible with money. I am not very sensible with money. Do you want my answer to that in that situation or in general?
Do you know what? A bit of both. Let's go for a bit of both.
Well, I've been relatively lucky in that I've not experienced that. All that much. Anything that I've done, even Rock of Ages, we were 2 years in by the time they said, all right, it's going to come to an end. And we were like, oh, thank God. You know, there's only so much that I can, you know, walk around in jeans like that and jump about like a maniac.
Yeah.
But this one was, for me in that situation, after Rock of Ages was the point where I had kind of said to myself, no more long runs. So weirdly and contractually, I had a shorter contract. A couple of us were only in it for a certain amount of time. So actually, for me personally in that scenario, it was a bit soon.
Yeah.
But I wasn't that devastated by it.
Do you feel like you had invested as much as you wanted to as a performer to get that character in that show to where it needed to be? Or do you think there is still a lot of work to be done to get it to another production, say, in the future?
Well, I think on that show, I think the version of that show in that incarnation, I think, you know, there's not much more that you could have gone towards that. And me personally, as an actor, I once I've done a few weeks,
get bored.
I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done. It doesn't mean that I don't love doing that stuff, but I think because of like everything we've spoken about, the playfulness, the creativity, there is a point where you have to kind of go, well, this is the show. I've got to do this show. And if there's not a lot of improv in it, and especially in something like that, there are a few lines that I could change here and there, but there were so many moving parts that it would have undone it, you know, so I had to stick to it.
Do you know what you remind me of? And I've thought this has occurred to me a couple of times.
A less good Colin Farrell.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Same eyebrows, less good face.
Hey, we could be long lost brothers. You know, I don't know who my dad is. Could be. You never know. Any more on that story later, listeners.
Sure.
I think there's a bit of director in you.
I want to be a director.
Yeah, it's definitely in you.
Yeah, it's always been my kind of, maybe sometime in the future I'll look at doing that. It's my, I as you can hear, I sometimes talk about myself in quite a self-deprecating way. It's because I genuinely mean it when I say I've seen better than me a lot, you know. I'm not very good at maintaining the thing. I love coming up with the idea. I love coming up with the thing and playing about with it. But actually then putting it into practice, there's so many better people than me to do that. And I love the idea of helping someone who maybe has the facility to do that, but not the confidence to do that, and go, no, don't worry, you got this. Try and think about it like this. And then they will execute it better than I ever could. but I get more gratification out of the sense of knowing that you can help someone shape something that they didn't think that they could do.
Like I said, you're a bloody director. It's
Sure.
okay.
Sure.
Hi, Ollie Saville here, and the trouble with schools is they never listen to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keates, who's an absolute legend, by the way.
It's time for the Show People podcast platform, the part of the show where we like to give a little time to new writing. And today's episode, we are going to hear a song from a musical by Ed Court. Now, Ed is a composer, actor and MD, and you could recently see him in Twang at the Union Theatre, and MD to the likes of Rhea Jones and Joe Pasquale. This is Ed's third musical and is a new adaptation of Notre Dame de Paris, taking a dark twist on the classic tale. It's brought to life by a narrator, Gringoire, playwright and poet, who takes you on a journey through the streets of Paris, meddling with a plot as he goes along. A rite of passage for Quasimodo, the legendary bell ringer, and a tale of friendship and love. The piece asks, will you smile? Will you give? Will you love? Will you live? The show has just received its world premiere at the University of Chichester, produced by Andrew Wright. Now, we're going to hear a song called I Lived. This song comes near the end of the show when Esmeralda, the famous gypsy dancer, has been forced to decide between a life with the lascivious Archdeacon Claude Frollo or face her death on the gallows. She chooses to die, but not before celebrating truly living her life and challenging Frollo to do the same. Performed here by Alexandra Duar, orchestrated and conducted by Adam Hoskins, recorded by Harry Hare, and of course music and lyrics by Ed Court. Here's I Lived from Notre Dame.
I hope one day you find someone who will love you. You'll see that love is blind. It is sent from God above. You never can change a heart, but always can make a new start. On the horizon, you can choose to live. You can feel your heart, let it guide your voice. You can change the world in a single choice. Yes, you know it's true. The decision is down to you. You can smile. You can give. You can love. You can live. Will you dance your dance? Will you sing your song? Will you find the home where you belong? Will you run and fly, or just wait on the earth to die? Will you smile? Will you give? Will you love? Will you live?
Hang her at sunrise. She is a witch and a liar. I will be free.
Years in the future, the world will awaken and see. All of God's creatures deserve to be happy and free. I won't die a victim, but a martyr to my cause, as someone who truly lived their life instead of how you wasted yours.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sending that in, Ed. If you'd like to find out more about Ed's work, just visit www.edwardcourt.co.uk or on SoundCloud, search for Notre Dame Ed Court. If you want to send something into the show, please just get in touch by emailing info@arian-productions.com.
Hello, my dears. You have the ineffable and probably undeserved pleasure of listening to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keates. This is Stephen Fry wishing you a wonderful listen. Thank you.
Now we're getting on to some smaller venues, smaller than the Palladium.
Yeah. Which was a very deliberate choice.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Like, as an actor, so you did Touchstone in As You Like It, directed by Derek Bond.
Yes.
So let's talk about something that's not a musical.
Yeah, right. And that was exactly it.
Yeah.
I had gone from, at that time, pre-Spamalot, I had kind of done a couple of smaller things, started dabbling in the TV world, wanted to get that kind of going. And then I just went, right, you've done Spamalot for a year, into Rock of Ages for 2 and a bit years, into I Can't Sing. That's enough. Just for now, that's enough of that.
Eating too much Haribo, that feeling.
Yeah, exactly. And I had never done a play, and
hadn't you really?
Nope. Had I? No, I'd done TV stuff, but like everyone does, I'd done The Bill and Casualty and whatever those bits popped up, but no. And so I was like, I want to do a play, and I quite like Shakespeare. I don't know much about it. I'm not a
So you thought Touchstone in As You Like It?
Yeah, who I then discovered is apparently the hardest of all the falls to do. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, then I'll do it. And I met Derek, who was super lovely. And I'd met Derek. I had workshopped years before that another hit show, which I didn't do, called Desperately Seeking Susan. Yeah. I did all of the workshops for that and then got out.
Yeah.
Got out.
Run away.
Yeah.
Run away.
Run away. But he was the associate on that. So we knew each other and we got on well and stuff. And so he did this production, and I sort of went in and I met him, and he was like, yeah, do it. Let's go. And so I was like, great. This is great. I'm going to be in a tiny little, whatever the Southwark Playhouse is, 250 seats, and do some Shakespeare, because that'll be a super challenge. I wanted to be challenged.
This has come up on the show loads of times before, but there is a snobbery about musical theatre performers doing Shakespeare, and I've repeatedly said, look, there is something about taking a musician and putting the words of Shakespeare in their mouths, and something is just natural about it. And I don't mean that in a naturalism sense, like an understanding of rhythm, of play just seems to happen without it being technical.
Yes.
Do you want to do more Shakespeare after doing that? And did you really connect with what you were saying?
Do you know what? I really did enjoy it. And I think Derek was hugely responsible for that, because he was so adamant that he didn't want to do a museum piece, and that he was so adamant that people should be able to understand this thing. And it was done for 3 times a day for normal people. It was the EastEnders of its time kind of thing. And so we should make it as accessible as possible. And that's exactly, I think, what we tried to do. Whether it was successful or not, I don't know. I never saw it. But I loved it. I really loved it. And it was a challenge, and it was hard. And it was hard to then take this thing that I was quite comfortable with, standing on a stage and getting laughs, and go, but how do I do this with words that people don't understand? Yeah. And it was great. Like, there's one particular scene in As You Like It where, for those of you that know it, Touchstone is in the woods with Audrey, and they bump into her ex-boyfriend, William. He is in the script. Now, it probably would have been it's a short scene. It would have been a comedy scene. It would have been, but essentially the questions were, what's your name? Blah, blah, William. Where do you come from? I come from here. And it was a what's your name? Where'd you come from? Front cloth scene. So we made the very bold decision to not have an actor playing William, and I did it improv every night with a member of the audience.
That's beautiful idea.
Pointed at someone, and I would, him, stand up, peasant. And then there's this whole speech. There's a great speech that Touchstone has about, I will kill you in this many ways. And so just screaming at an audience member that you're going to tear them limb from limb was joyous.
Who did you have on press night?
Who did I do? I can't remember.
Mark Shenton or someone like
No, I can't remember who it was. I didn't. I wouldn't care. I'd go for who I think would be. I'd look and go, who's going to give me?
Who's going to give me jip?
Yeah, I'd clock earlier in the thing who had laughed, who had a bit of a personality, and then go for them. Because also, puppets. Here they come again. So Audrey, normally played by a lady.
Yeah.
He said, should we run down the puppet thing? I think, again, this was an excuse because it was a double cast production and they would have had to employ someone just to play Audrey because no one could double cast it. He said, I've come up with this idea. Touchstone is in the Forest of Arden and he fashions a sheep puppet and you're going to do the whole thing as a double act with yourself.
That's funny.
Funny. And I was going to say, the minute he said puppet, I said no. And then the minute he said, you'll play Touchstone and Audrey because he's so bored that he creates this sheep girlfriend.
Brilliant.
So when I did this find the boyfriend thing, it was technically, that's 3 people in a scene that we've not cut down to me, a sheep puppet, who I put on an audience's hand to puppeteer so she stayed alive, so that gave me a double play of that with an audience member saying what they wanted.
You've spent so many roles you've played is just about spinning so many plates.
I love that. But it's improvisation. Yeah. It's improv. We've talked for so long now that I can't remember if we've covered it. I think improvisation is, so the basics of any acting, whether you look at the method, Meisner, whatever it is listen and respond, right? Mm-hmm. That is the base thing of it. Much like any religion, we can dress them up in any way we want, but it's all be nice to people and you'll do all right. Like that, it's listen and respond. And there is no truer form than improvisation because you literally have to listen. Otherwise you cannot respond. And you know instantly if someone is not doing it because they don't answer the question. And I think that live in the moment, that thing that directors say to you constantly, find the moment for the first time, like all of that stuff, like just remember the first time you discovered it. But in improv, you literally have to discover it in the moment. So if you approach everything, even scripted, from a physical sense of improv or a mental sense of improv, you are listening and responding. I love the fact that you can go, I get a bit annoyed when the blocking is lift your arm here, walk to 3, move there, turn around there. I want to know the playground that I've got to go with. I want to know where I'm going to be in or out of light. And then I don't care if I'm in the same place every night.
Now let's talk about a production I saw, which I loved it, mate. I thought you were sensational in this, and that's Assassins.
I thought you were going to say Footloose on tour.
It will never be that. But I mean, I loved this production of it.
Yeah.
I thought the cast were awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how on earth, knowing some of the personalities in that cast, how people were still alive by the end of it because there's some
got
big
on like a
figures.
house on fire.
Did you?
Yeah.
Because do you know what it was? I looked at it and went, that is all of drama school / the West End's biggest characters all in one rehearsal room.
Yeah.
And just being like, how on earth did Jamie obviously was directing. How on earth did he keep all of you guys? It'd be like herding cats is sort of what I had in my mind.
So if you don't know Assassins, it's all about people throughout history who have attempted successfully or unsuccessfully to assassinate American presidents. And it starts right at the beginning with John Wilkes Booth assassinating Abraham Lincoln and goes up until the last assassination attempt, which was Lee Harvey Oswald shooting JFK. Now, all of the people, all of the assassins are these kind of loners, these individuals, these things. So everyone kind of essentially gets their turn at a scene. That's how the show works. So you needed people who could turn up and smash that one scene out, and you could have made a play out of each individual story. So you needed them. And here's what he did to make us feel like individuals. We never were in the same room rehearsing together.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
We were never there. He made us feel, now, obviously, once we started the show, we all talked, but we felt like we didn't know each other. We felt like we were strangers because you kind of got into week 4 or 5 of rehearsals and you would be like, how's Mike McShane? I don't know. I don't know him.
Who is Catherine Tate?
Right. Yeah. I just don't know. And then in the last 2 days or the last day of rehearsals, we put the show together.
What? So things like another national anthem, all that stuff?
So we did rehearsal days. There was, in that last week, we did rehearsal days on that. I mean, there were the big group numbers, sure, but there aren't really any of them. That was the last section because you could rehearse everything after that, everything before that. And there were the ensemble guys, they were in a lot. but just people coming in and out. So the people who were the assassins were kind of very much on their own. And then he adds in, and you're all going to be on stage all the way through it on the last day of rehearsals. And everyone's like, what? We're in the whole show? Yep, just do it. Just do it. And this was the prime example of, here's your playground. You know exactly where everything is. The swing set's over there. That's over there. Go where you like.
Yeah.
Go where you like. What you want to do. The light's up. You can move wherever you want to move. And it was a weird thing.
He's so brave. He is so brave with his choices as a director.
I said no to the part originally.
Did you?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, in the very bluntest, sort of most egotistical way, I read the thing and I was like, this is like 3 lines and 1 song at the beginning. I've read the rest of it. Everyone gets, it's just not for me. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
And I got this call saying, from Jamie saying, just come meet me for lunch. And I was like, yeah, sure, of course. And he sat down and he said, listen, you're right. That's what is on the page, but I want to try and do something with it. And I want to do something with this part.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but there was something in his eyes and I just went, oh yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. I loved the Menier. I wanted to work there. And I just thought, why not? Why not? And also, I think there's something really... This is probably going to sound terrible, and you can all tweet comments that at me in anger. But I played a lot of big parts. And actually, there was something in me that just went, eat some fucking humble pie. Because actually, this is really fucking classy. And this isn't a comedy. And do this. And I wanted to do that. I wanted to try it. And also I trusted him. I trusted him implicitly for some reason. So he made the proprietor into this weird devil-like character to essentially rival the balladeer, who is the good, the rational thought in it all. Still with no lines. And it was all very physical. And rehearsals were frustrating as all hell because I like everyone else, never came in. I was there from 9 a.m. till 6:30 at night every single day. And he would just let me be, and he'd just go, just be in it. And I'd be like, what do you mean just be in it? Because these people are coming in, and Catherine Tate and Andy Nyman and all of these people are coming in wanting to work on their scene because that's the only, and they've got me just by their face like a weird little entity and kind of just going, what's he doing here? And then, so we get through 6 weeks of that, and then he goes, right, and everyone's on stage. And I'm like, but that's my part.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole point of me. And here's the thing, they were quite nervous. They were a bit scared because I was this very aggressive, covered in blood and paint and guns and stuff thing. So without knowing,
but also a confidence within that world, which of course the other actors wouldn't have. I mean, the layers that he's added is very, very clever.
And he had made me, without realizing it, have such confidence over the set and the space.
And the set was, of course, beautiful.
Sucha Gilmore, amazing. But I had such sort of domain over it that wherever I went, people would move, clear or stuff. And they didn't know that. And whether he told them to do that without me knowing, who knows? But all of a sudden it meant that I was then ruled this space without knowing. And it was just brilliant. And what was wonderful about it was that I felt like the most untalented person in the room. And I loved it.
Yeah.
I didn't, obviously in the moment, you go home and cry in a corner and just think, what am I doing here? But there was this great moment where we finally all were sat around. And I can't remember who said it, but someone said exactly that. And then someone else would go, oh my God, me too. And everyone felt like the most unconfident, untalented person in the room.
Wow.
And I don't know why it was so, it was just, it's the thing that in my entire career, over Avenue Q, it's the piece of work that I am most proud of.
I was just going to say, it's so interesting, as I said to you earlier, listeners will be very disappointed if I don't talk about Avenue Q, but how interesting, actually, of all the things that I've covered from your CV, the two things that you have physically lit up about is a play at Touchstone at Southwark Playhouse and something at the Menier Chocolate Factory. Yeah. And this is the thing, and maybe it's why I do the work I do and the people I connect with most of all.
Good word from Assassins, connect.
But it is about connection, isn't it?
Of course it is.
I would much rather be getting paid, if only money wasn't a thing, much rather being paid, 300 quid a week working at somewhere like the Menier than having to to cope with all of the rigmarole of these giant West End machines. Since doing this podcast and trying to find, a repetition of themes to make this industry better in some way or another, it's just this endless repetition of be kind.
Just be nice.
Be kind, be kind, be kind.
Be nice. We are inherently always in competition with each other. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Like, okay, I was up for a big TV job a month ago maybe, and it was going really well, and I was back in and sitting there and sending off to America and all of this sort of stuff. And I just didn't get it. One of my best mates, the script came through and he was in for it. And he was nervous because he was like, but it was I was over the moon for him because we're of course we're all up for we're all up for jobs. And if it's hard. It's hard. This industry is shit, and it is hard, and it takes its toll on you, and you need strength and a thick skin and resilience because we're told we're too short, too thin, too fat, too whatever. We don't get jobs. We do get jobs. We get jobs that we think are going to be amazing that turn out to be shit. If we all just were like, oh, mate, that's genuinely turn around and be happy for each other, support each other. When someone's got an audition, help them with it. When someone asks you for that song that you sing, why be protective over it? Because it's your song. No, give it to them. Be nice because one, that's being a human. Two, you would want the same, right? So just be good. Be cool.
Hello, this is Francis Raphael. When I'm on my own, pretending he's beside me, I listen to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keates.
Now, I'm going to delve into, we've spoken quite a lot about your stage work, but also you are one of these rare breeds. Yeah. You're like one of these people who works in musicals.
Yeah.
And like TV and film and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, rare breed that you are.
Right.
First thing I'm going to talk about.
Yes.
Because I own a K9. Let's talk about Doctor Who.
Sure.
Like,
okay.
Boyhood dream come true or just another job?
Another one for my dad.
Really? Is he a big Doctor Who fan?
He's got every episode ever.
Yeah, you probably don't look in my corridor. You see lots of.
No, I watched it with him.
Did you?
Yeah. I'm a big fan. Yeah, that was cool. They were very lovely, actually. I went in for a completely different part, and they just went, "No, you're not right for that, but come do this." And so, what was the episode called? The Girl Who Died, I think it was. And it's pretty brief. It's it's in there, but I was on it, and we did a couple of weeks filming on it, and dressed up as a Viking, and did some stuff, and it was great. It was just great to be part of that institution that is Doctor Who. I liked it. You get some fucking crazy fan mail.
You certainly do.
I had a handful of lines, and died in it. But
you're part of the canon now.
Yeah, right.
A friend of mine went into audition. He's a lovely Welsh actor.
Yeah.
Went into audition for a bit part in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, he said to Andy Pryor, the casting director, he said, I just want to check one thing. Yeah. If I do play this role, does that mean I won't ever be considered for the Doctor? Which is just this lovely thing of like, am I going to waste everything just to be this tiny role? And then Peter Capaldi did what he did.
Yeah.
But yes, obviously Doctor Who, which I wanted to quickly touch on.
Yes.
Now, tell me about this, what is The Amazing World of Gumball?
Okay, sure. So it's a cartoon show on the Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
It's been running for, I don't know what season it's in now. It's weird because we record so far, we're recording season 6, whatever, but it takes so long to animate that I don't know what series they're on TV. It's BAFTA award winning.
Lovely.
So, I mean, I don't have a BAFTA, unlike other people who have.
Give it time.
Yeah, but sure. But unlike other people whose shows they've been a part of have won awards and then they claim desperately that they have won that award too. No, I have not won one. I've never seen one. I wasn't there. It's so much fun. So I do voices on a couple of cartoon shows. I do that and another one which is coming out. Called Ricky Zoom, which is all about motorbikes and stuff, and I just play Amazing What a Gumball is like one of these TV shows that it's a kids TV show, but kind of like SpongeBob. It's like Stone Teenager TV show as well. Like it's a little bit, so it's that and Adventure Time are like the two Cartoon Network leading cartoons. But weirdly, it's not that. I mean, it is. I think kids know it over here, but in America, it is massive.
Have you ever done any of like the Comic Cons?
No, I've never done. I got asked to do one, and I wasn't available, but I was. This is genuinely this, along with my Blue Peter badge. I was a Happy Meal toy.
What?
Yeah, shut the front door. I was a Happy Meal toy. My character from Amazing World of Gumball, my main character that I do, Rocky Robinson.
Who is Rocky Robinson?
He's a big old orange monster who's the school janitor.
Great.
He wears a rock t-shirt, but it says ABCD rather than with like AC/DC t-shirt. And yeah, so I was a Happy Meal toy. They made a whole Amazing World of Gumball Happy Meal series, and I've got the toy sitting on one of my bookshelves.
And so there's a few things. I mean, we could talk for hours about your role Marcus and Casualty.
Yeah, sure, of course, deep stuff.
Deep stuff. Same as Liam Hayes in the bit.
Yeah, exactly. Big stuff. Marcus Hayes got blown up on fireworks night. Liam Hayes beat someone to death with a lamp because they did some stuff to my sister.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's big stuff.
What was No Strings Attached?
No Strings Attached was a series for the BBC with the Henson guys. So it was puppeteering. So it was my first job with Henson's. And it was Brian Henson, who is Jim's son, created this show for the BBC. So it was a kind of funny Muppet Show-esque thing. It wasn't very successful. But it was fun to do it. It was really fun to do. I got a picture of me and Brian Henson. I'm done puppeteering together.
If anyone wants to see the saddest image,
yeah.
Now I include all images of the great pre-Raphaelite paintings, all the way to some of the biblical images that are out there. If you want to see the saddest image ever, there is a picture of Kermit the Frog holding his hand up to the picture of Jim Henson.
Yeah, it kills you, doesn't it?
It affects me in a way that people I have known that have died, I haven't been affected in a way. And maybe that's because we all know The Muppet Christmas Carol is the greatest Christmas film ever made.
But was made with love for his dad. It was after Jim died, and they made the film it was their obituary to his dad and their friend. And so it was just made with everything that he would have loved.
I watch it every Christmas.
Yeah, I watch it not just at Christmas.
So leaning on nicely, you were in Show Dogs, which is a film I have not seen.
Yeah.
What is Show Dogs?
It came out earlier this year. Show Dogs.
I remember it being advertised. I remember seeing...
Yeah. They're not going to listen to this. Show Dogs was a film that if the 90s made a talking dog movie, but it brought it out in 2018, it'd be that. It's essentially Miss Congeniality at a dog show. And I did a couple of scenes in it as some sort of bad guy thing, do a huge, like, big old chase sequence, got to do stunts, Did
you do your own stunts?
Yeah, most of them, yeah. The car screeched in and I had to be hit by it, roll over the bonnet and be hit by it. And that's the one, I did it slow, the car moving slow, so they could get me going onto the bonnet, coming off the bonnet, but my stunt guy did the fast one because they were like, you could die.
Yeah, you're not a stuntman.
Not a stuntman, but I pretended I was. I love it. I wanted to be a stuntman when I was a little kid. That was what I wanted to do. But yeah, that was fun. That was super fun. Again, another few weeks filming on that. Ollie Thompson's in that as well.
These musical theatre people getting into the world of film and TV, outrageous.
I know. It's this thing that says, no, it can't be done. So
tell me about, I know you're itching to tell me. Tell me about Nativity Rocks.
Oh, sure. So I'm super excited about this. It's my first. I'm leading a movie. Oh, that feels weird saying that.
Yeah.
Poster came out yesterday. It's just me and Celia Imrie, and the cast is amazing. So it's the fourth installment if 3 Nativity films weren't enough. It's the fourth installment of the Nativity movies, Nativity Rocks, and it's me, Celia Imrie, Ruth Jones, Mira Sayal, Hugh Dennis, Anna Chancellor,
amazing.
Helen George, and it's. So I turn up, for those of you that know the films, the character Mr. Poppy. I turn up as his brother, his long lost brother that he didn't know existed. And I turn up and I'm there ready to go, and he's gone. He's left and moved on with his life. So it's I don't want to give anything away about it, but it's a story about family and finding family in whatever capacity that may be at Christmas. And there's also, what's amazing about Debbie, who creates these films, is that she doesn't, let's talk about I'm sure you've talked about it a lot, the stigma of crossing over from stage to film. And it really is a thing from musicals to film. Straight plays, it's not only a thing.
Sure.
And I think lots of people have touched on it in lots of different ways, and I understand the ins and outs and how difficult it is and all of that kind of stuff. But it's doable. It's doable. You just have to be super brave and resilient.
Yeah.
And you know, it will either happen or it won't. And there's no rhyme or reason why. If we could lift the stigma like they do in America, that would be amazing. But sometimes, you know, there's brilliant actors in stuff and sometimes there's not, and whatever. But Debbie sort of doesn't have that filter. She'll just give the job
The person she likes.
to the person that she wants to work with. And also because it's improvised, it really does. Like there's been some people, again, in previous films in this, like that came on that are very good actors. But the minute that you kind of go, well, the camera's rolling, this is going on a movie and you need to make it up.
Yeah.
It's scary. But so there was a part to cast, Mr. Johnson, his name is in the film, who is kind of the Martin Freeman-esque character from the first, the primary school teacher that's there. Sure. Slightly small, it's more of an ensemble-y kind of piece. But we saw lots of well-known famous people. And then she also saw Daniel Boyes. And no one was better than Daniel.
Oh.
So he's in that movie and he's there. Now, I may have, when she said, who do you think might be good for this? Just put all of my friends in the direction. Because I was like, I'm going to get my friends in a movie. Yeah. So Ramin, Karen Blue is in the movie, and there's lots of faces that you'll see. Caroline Sheen is in the movie. Ali Jai is in the movie. There's John Robbins is in the movie.
It's going to be a musical theatre fest. Like there's going to be a musical theatre drinking game that comes with it, like there was with
every time that you see.
Every time you see someone from a musical, you have to have a shot.
Yeah, and then there'll be subcategories to what musicals people have. Yeah. So
and what capacity you knew the musical theatre actor.
Exactly.
Yes. As you've married them down the jug.
Sure. And so there's a lot of familiar faces in there, but it was a joyous experience and one that I loved. And that's why I said when we started that whole, she has been amazing to me, and to give me the opportunity to do that, to you know, I looked at that poster yesterday and my name is on a movie poster and I'm a fat little Jew from Essex. Like I was like, that was never going to happen. So I'm over the moon and super excited about it.
I'm Alistair Brammer, and you're listening to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keates, a man with the hairdo of a children's TV presenter and the drinks cabinet of an elderly Broadway diva.
Marvellous. Okay, well, it is time for my favourite things. Simon Lipkin, I am going to strand you on tour in Whitley Bay.
Yeah.
I need to know what you need to survive.
Right.
Now, in your digs, you will have a
lube and Kleenex. Go on.
That is your luxury item sorted. Some call it.
This is going to put such the wrong impression about. It's not. Anyone that knows me, it's not. Carry on.
No, like he needs lube.
Yeah.
So you get. You're allowed a religious text of your choosing.
Yeah.
You also get a copy of the complete works of William Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are things I need to know.
Yeah,
right.
go on.
First of all,
album,
film, TV box set, book, play, musical, game, and luxury item, which we've established is lube. So,
no, it's not.
What would be the album? Not song, but what album would you need?
Oh shit. Okay, let's whittle this. Let's whittle in Whitley. So albums: Sammy Davis Jr. live at the Coconut Grove.
Oh, that is such a good choice.
That's up there. Paolo Nutini's Sunny Side Up. The greatest hits of Barry Manilow.
Wow. That'll go really well for Lube.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
Sammy Davis Jr. live at the Coconut
It's
Grove.
a really good choice.
It's amazing.
I think this might be your hardest one.
Okay, go on.
I'm sensing.
Yeah, go on.
What would be the film?
Okay, so here's my thing. Anyone that says they've got a favourite film doesn't know anything about films.
Yeah.
That's not true. But so I think favourite film actually means rainy Sunday film.
Yeah, it does.
The go-to one that you can watch over and over again. It's either going to be The Princess Bride or Hook.
Hook, yeah.
It's that they're definitely up there. I love a shit action movie.
Do you? Like what?
Oh, I mean, give me anything. Give me all of the Expendables trilogy. That's great. I think The Princess Bride. Oh no, but what about Blazing Saddles?
Yeah. And then now you're going to think about all the other Mel Brooks movies.
I mean, Mel Brooks is an icon. Jeez Louise. No, Princess Bride. I'm sticking with The Princess Bride.
TV box set.
That is really hard.
Yeah, well, I've given you a whole box set.
All right.
It's not like one episode.
You're being sassy. Back off.
All right.
Okay, here's my TV box set. Again, let's whittle it and Whitley. It's either going to be Brooklyn Nine-Nine, brilliant comedy. It's maybe going to be Breaking Bad. Maybe it's going to be Comedians and Cars Getting Caught. Is it going to be Seinfeld? It might be Seinfeld.
You're the first to say Seinfeld.
It's Seinfeld. My TV box set is Seinfeld.
Okay, what would be the book?
Is this the religious text or the book?
Book. So you can have a copy of the Torah. That's
I don't want
fine.
the Torah. I want the Bible according to Spike Milligan. See, now here's the thing. I don't read.
Sure.
I don't know why. I wish I could. I've tried many a time. My brain just goes, nope. So I think I would take, there's an old book which is it's Barry Cryer, and who was it? But it is essentially just the quintessential sketches of the 70s. So it's like the Mastermind, the Two Ronnies Mastermind sketch, and it's the lots of Python Cheese Shop. It's like their favorite sketches from that era. It's a huge, thick book with just every sketch word for word. I take that.
And what would be the play?
The play? Oh, that's good. I maybe take The Odd Couple by Neil Simon.
Oh, it's a great play.
Yeah.
And the musical?
The musical that I would take would maybe be The Producers. I would take.
It's a faultless piece.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's funny, make me laugh. Yeah.
There's not one line, not one beat in it that you go, oh, you could lose that.
No, but if I'm watching it, I'd want to see Nathan Lane, Matthew Broderick. I want to see that original bunch. It was a masterpiece in comedy.
All right, what would be the game? Now, the game,
yes,
you are able to play with your batty landlady.
Okay.
It can be...
I'd stay in a hotel, I've got to be honest with you. But go on.
It can be a board game, or it could be a PlayStation 4 game. It could be anything you like.
Okay, so I'm either going to play... I love playing cards. I have an obsession with playing cards because of the magic thing. I love it. So I'd either play cards. Balderdash, I love. Balderdash is a great game. However, there is a game called Double.
What is Double?
Double is essentially like Extreme Snap.
Right.
Circular cards, about 6-7 pictures on the card, and every single card has one picture that matches to the card. So you're sitting opposite someone, there's a card in the middle, you've got cards, and you have to find the picture that matches on the card. It's for a child.
Yeah.
But
which is why it's great for actors.
Right. There's a pub called The Secret Weapon in Stratford. Not upon Avon, Stratford.
Yeah.
And it's in a little back street, and it's a games pub. They have the walls are covered in games consoles, and they have hundreds of board games just sitting there. Me, Jamie Moscato, Richard Southgate, Joe Mott, our little group of friends. Shout out to the lads.
Lads.
Well, they're not, because it's also like Joe Chikonska, who's a musical director, and Louise Richardson. They're brilliant people. It's our little team. And we go and we find a game at The Secret Weapon, and we play. We just pick up one we don't know and we play it. And one day we found Double.
Amazing.
It's just play it. It's the best. It's the only time I've ever fought with Jamie.
Really?
Yeah. He called me. He slapped my hand and called me the C word.
See you next Tuesday.
Yeah. Because he thought that I was cheating, when in fact he just couldn't fathom that I was winning.
Okay, lastly,
yes.
So what will be your actual luxury item?
My actual luxury item, can I take a deck of cards? Yeah, I'd take a deck of cards so I can shuffle and do magic and amuse myself in that way.
Hello, this is Steve First, and you are listening to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keates. A man so marvellous, he's putting bums on seats. Whether it be parakeets eating halal meats or premier athletes submitting VAT receipts. It's the Show People podcast with Andrew Keates.
Thank you very much, Steve First.
Steve First, what a funny man Steve First is.
He is one of my very, very favorite people. I've just been to his wedding, and I'm so
Mazel tov, Steve.
Oh, I just love. I adore you, Steve First. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for everyone's favorite part of the show. No one else is allowed any other favorite parts, and that is Funny 5 Minutes. Simon Lipkin, I have arranged in front of me some of the world's most obscure and frankly outrageous questions to ask you over 5 minutes. Now, you are allowed 3 passes, but use them wisely because you do not know what I'm going to ask you.
Oh, no.
Simon Lipkin, let's play Funny 5 Minutes.
Bring it on!
Oh, this music gives me life.
Go! You're wasting the time, Andrew Keates.
It's called an introduction.
Right.
And what is the worst note you've ever been given?
The worst note that I was ever given was, I hate it when people say, discovery, discover, and someone just kept saying it, discovery, discovery, discovery. In one note session, they said it 58 times, counted.
Would you rather fight 1 horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
I'm taking 100 duck-sized horses because I could kick them.
Sum up Brexit in one word.
Bollocks.
How do you take your tea?
Milk and 2 sugars like a builder, son.
What is the most expensive thing you've ever bought?
Can I say a house?
Yes.
Yeah, a house then.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
No, wrong answer.
It's not the wrong answer.
I mean, cats are definitely better.
You've seen the musical? It should have been called Dogs. It would have been better.
What do you wear when going to bed?
Nothing.
Hooray! What is your least favourite television show ever made?
The Real Housewives of Bollocks.
Or wherever they are. Who is the most beautiful person you've ever kissed?
My mother.
Oh, another one of these. Who is the ugliest person you've ever kissed?
Oh, I'm not answering that.
Is that a
pass? Me in the mirror.
Ah, that's a good answer. If someone narrated your life, who would it be?
If someone what now?
Narrated your life, who would it be?
Who would it be? I would want Mel Brooks to narrate my life.
Oh my god, yes. Yeah. That is the right answer. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Trek.
Yes! If you had an autobiography, what would it be called?
Big Jew going left.
When you order a pizza, what is your order?
So usually a lot. Here we go. I'm getting a garlic bread with cheese, and then I'm grabbing me a pepperoni pizza with extra cheese. Maybe some sweet corn on there. It's going to be great. Stick some red onion on if you're feeling cheeky. A little side of chicken kickers and a drink.
And is it a Domino's or a Papa John's?
It's probably going to be a Domino's, or it could be Basiliana, who deliver freshly delivered stone-baked pizzas.
Other pizza companies are available.
They're not.
What is your guilty pleasure when it comes to listening to music?
Do you know what? I love listening to a musical.
What are the best kind of pants?
The best kind of pants? Something that holds it all in place.
Yeah.
But isn't loose and baggy. So like a boxer trunk.
Like a boxer brief.
Like a trunk. Like a fitted trunk.
A fitted trunk?
Yeah.
Sondheim or Andrew Lloyd Webber?
Oh, Sondheim. But actually, Lloyd Webber has written some classics.
He's written some bangers, as I believe the kids would say nowadays.
Yeah.
What is the world's greatest swear word?
Oh, I can't say it on your thing.
You can.
Come!
There we go! Who was your teenage crush?
Michelle Detrice from Some Mothers Do Have 'Em.
Oh my God! I worked Michelle Detrice.
Oh, Betty.
If you had to have one last meal, what would it be?
I would go, ready for this, a Toby Carvery.
Oh.
I got no shame. I want the meat. I want the stuff. I want the stuffing, and I want it all at McDonald's price.
What is your favourite season?
My favourite season is summer. End of summer.
Summer's a nice time.
Yeah.
Who would play you in a movie of your life?
Either David Schwimmer, or if they put prosthetics on him, potentially. Well, no, David Schwimmer I think is a good shout.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Is line dancing cool?
Depends how you do it.
It's very true. Do you have a teddy bear?
No. I do have stuffed toys, but
like
I
what?
don't have a teddy bear.
Like
I've
what?
got all of the Muppets.
Do you?
Yeah, in stuffed toy versions. And I've got all of the toy... they're not stuffed toys, but they are toys.
Yes.
Yeah, but not a teddy bear on my bed.
Are you an early riser or a night owl?
It depends on what I'm doing. Sometimes I'm a real night owl, and then other times I sleep by 9 and up at 7.
Well, sadly, Simon Lipkin, that noise tells me that is the end of the show.
That's what you think.
That's what she said. But before we go, I just want to thank Ed Court for sending in his song From Notre Dame to Paris.
Really nice song, Ed.
But ladies and gentlemen, please go mad for the one, the only, Mr. Simon Lipkin!
There's no one here. Those cheers are not real. This is a full sense of security.
Like the theatre. Simon, how on earth can people keep up to date with all that you are up to?
Sure. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram, or you could just follow me in the street.
And what's the account?
They're all just my name, at Simon Lipkin. I'm not adventurous enough. I've forgotten the passwords. Never be able to get back in.
And do you have a nice 90s style website anywhere?
You can. No, not at all. I'm not that. No. Thank you so much for having me.
It is my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Keates. You can follow the show at ShowPeopleUK. And don't forget, use hashtag ShowPeoplePodcast. This podcast is produced by Arian Productions Limited. We are dedicated to giving opportunities to theatre makers like this free podcast. If you want to help us out, you can visit our GoFundMe campaign to help us raise some money for our company to do more wonderful events, productions, and resources for theatre makers and audiences alike. Just go to gofundme.com/support-Arian-Productions. Please add your name to the list of our great supporters, as that really does help us do so much more. Talking about Arian Productions, don't forget, on the 30th of September at the Omnibus Theatre in Clapham, you can join Julie Atherton for her Acting Through Song Masterclass with musical director Ben Papworth, and of course, I will be there to help with making the tea. Places are available from only 20 quid, and you get to socialise afterwards with other theatre makers who are dedicated to their craft. If you want to find out more about that, go to arian-productions.com/portfolio. That is a week away, Sunday the 30th of September. Spend the afternoon with other theatre makers. Finally, thank you so much for listening, wherever you are listening all over the world. Don't forget, please leave us a lovely iTunes review, as that really helps us connect with more listeners. And please, don't forget to send us a little donation, because that would be lovely. Until next time, just be better.
There was one that I wasn't allowed to do.
Which was?
Which was, I had the car...
Wow.
That was my belly.
So, we've also got here that you were Hugo in Snow Dogs.
Show Dogs.
In fact, no, I'm going to take a cheeky little break, and then I'm going to talk to you about I Can't Sing.
Oh, shit, son. Hi, this is David Badella.
It's just like a massage.
Yeah.
I sometimes listen to it when I get neck problems, just to really relax everything.
I've had a wank to his voice.
Have you?
No.
That's going to be the title of the episode. Simon Lipkin wanks over David Badella.